You built a business people love, but behind the scenes, it's all on you. Vision to Grow is your space to lead with clarity, hire with purpose, and finally breathe again. I'm Chrissy, your no-fluff leadership expert, here to help you hire better and lead teams with less mess. Hi, and welcome back to Vision to Grow. I'm Chrissy, and let's try and make this episode a bit snappier today. I have had some slightly longer than usual solo episodes because there's lots going on and I'm really excited, and typically I love October. It's Halloween week. I bloody love Halloween. I think that's been an October birthday girl. I'm going to talk more about that. But I guess today we will touch upon Halloween, right? And instead of talking about ghosts and ghouls, we're going to talk about something that really haunts business founders. So that's scope creep, that's chaotic inboxes, and that's bottlenecks that whisper just one more thing at midnight. So I will not Halloween pun all the way through this episode, although I would actually love to. But there is a little bit of a Halloween theme, and I'm going to explain why. And look, this week's episode follows a deeply personal episode from last week. So if you haven't had a listen and you want a raw emotional share, then definitely check that one out. But last week I shared the truth about turning 40 and holding a business when life is trying to break me. And today I'm going to go more behind the scenes of how I rebuilt that business. And it's not really about a brand, although we'll touch upon the slight aesthetic change of the website. But I really want to talk more so about the structure that actually holds. And you can have that too, right? So everything I share, even when I'm talking about it from my own perspective, it's not meant to be me. It's to share so you can leverage stuff from this podcast into your own business. Because I love that when I'm listening to other podcasts, right? And I am a massive lover of podcasts. I think it's the same as when you have a baby, right? And you get parenting advice, you listen or, semi-listen to all of the advice, and then you take what works for you. And that's what this podcast is for. And for you to get a feel for me and see if you're, I'm someone you want to keep listening to with my fast talking and my British accent. So what I want to talk about is, I don't want you to be a business owner that your business falls apart without you, because it's not scalable. It's scary. So, it's Halloween. We're going to talk about the scary factors of business. I think that's pretty cute. And I want to talk really about burning down parts of my business and rebuilding it up. And, I'll add the link to our new website it's the same link, but it's a new website into the show notes. But there is a theme in the website of this, scary Halloween, the chaos, and then moving to something more streamlined and looks. I've got my sprinkle gold banner behind me, which is as most as I'm prepared to do with an office renovation right now. But, I want our businesses to feel like that. I think for the first few years of business, the first sort of 4 years of business, we're learning, we're forming, we're storming, we're norming. Is that what it is? Storming, forming, norming. And then at some point, it can't just continue like that. So we need to stop being scary and chaotic and Halloween. I always think of that scream, emoji face. I think I get lots of messages from business owners with that emoji face in there. And instead, I want us to be that cocktail emoji or the, beach emoji, because we're having a freaking break. We've got a business that serves our life and a CEO role that serves our life. How freaking special is that? So we had a lot of fun with the website build. It will keep evolving because my business is not, something that needs a beautiful, highly overly curated website. I've had that in the past. This is us. This is real and it's raw. It's actually built in Techmatics, which is a platform we use a lot in our business. A lot of our clients use it. And my amazing VA, Michelle, if you listen to this, Michelle, my amazing right-hand woman, she had a lot of fun designing this too. So yeah, go take it out. It's good fun. So I think I do talk about school holidays a lot on here, which is a sidestep, but this is all weaved together. I guess, the whole episode is about making your business scalable and what's scary and how we move away from that, right? So I'll talk about a little bit of something that was scary for me. So the recent spring school holidays were a massive wake-up call again. Now, I'd already come to this conclusion. I talked in last week's episode about I went to the UK in July and I was like, something's not right in my business. I love the work that I'm doing, but the work I'm doing, the clients love it. I'm getting great reviews, all of the things, but it's not necessarily serving my life. And therefore, if it's not necessarily serving my life, it's not going to make me happy as the CEO, which is going to mean I can't scale it. I can't keep showing up, which is exactly what I teach my clients. So I've done this type of work long enough to know when I'm bottlenecked. And as our business was preparing for a growth in client work, we'd figured out this new model. I was hiring and this new website was launching. I was probably still holding too much. And I knew that, and I was making plans to change it, but I was probably a week or so out. So even with an existing team and knowing that I was bringing new team on board, and even with pretty solid systems, I mean, they can always be refined. We talk about continuous improvement, but my delivery, so much of my delivery was still running through me with the previous services. And then I was trialing out these new services with clients. And I see that with clients all the time too. And I knew it was coming, and it was so frustrating because I was making a change, but then something blew up in my personal life, which took me away a little bit from the business more so than I had planned for, right? So if we're going to have a plan, we're going to plan to fail. I had a plan. I just have a plan for the backup plan. Like if something went wrong, right? Which, we're always learning, we're always growing, and I will now. And I've had to become really, really real about that. So that is this episode title, right? So the episode title is If Your Business Falls Apart Without You, it's not scalable, it's scary. And I had a big scare factor, in the school holidays. And I'm, let's be frank, like I'm always going to choose my kids and my mental health above anything, because I'm a single woman, they need me and I need them. And it shouldn't have to be that way, and if I sound like a broken record on my podcast, good, because I really want you to hear this. If you've already sorted that out, amazing. But have a plan for when the plan is not applicable, when something else happens. So I'm kind of saying that, I had the plan, I had the team, but I think it's fine. And then your kids get sick or your personal life blows up. I did that big overshare last week. If your period freaking wipes you out because you've got like polycystic ovaries or endometriosis, like I've had dear friends and family members that's happened to, or you're going through IVF, or you're pregnant and you're sick, your kids are sick, like you're going to have to choose them, but it shouldn't be a choice. We want to work towards having businesses that support us through all of those times, because otherwise it impacts your finances, it's going to make you more stressed, and that is going to make everything wobble. What if your relationship breaks down? Nobody wants to think about that, but it happens. Trust me, I've been there. And then if that happens, then your whole business wobbles and fall apart. That's not good enough for us. It's certainly not good enough for me. It's not scalable, that situation. It's not freedom. And it's not initially why we went into business. Like, I don't know if you were anything like me, unless you come from a real entrepreneurial family. Like, I didn't know what I was going into when I started business. I just knew it was something I wanted. It's very much my approach to life. Like, I want the thing and I go after it, and then I deal with it, Sometimes it serves me and sometimes it doesn't. But I'm getting older and wiser. I'm 40 now. I'm learning, and I'm sharing those learnings with you. So look, I had that scare factor in the last school holidays, and then the big Christmas, Aussie summer school holidays are coming up, and I'm telling every founder who's listening, if your business can't survive without you for 2 weeks, you've got some work to do, right? Because that is not 2 weeks. What is it, like 7 weeks in school holidays? It gets me every time. And I'm in the thick of planning what I'm doing in the summer school holidays so that my whole business is not dependent on me. My clients are not dependent on me. We're working with them to support them through it, because we build business to support our lives. If you've got kids, then you need to plan for that. If you don't have kids, it's still Christmas. Some of your clients or your team might be needing to take time off through school holidays. Like it is the reality of the world that we live in, My clients who don't have kids that I'm working with, they're taking time out through Christmas and they got a plan for that. And we support them with that. It's just how it goes. So I'm telling every founder listening, if your business can't survive without you for the 2-week Christmas period or the 7-week school holiday period, if you want to take it off or you want to take 3 weeks off, you've got some work to do. And that's what we've been doing at Grow Advantage for us and with our clients. Because we talked about the rebuilding of the model, and that was very clear. I needed to do that for myself. But I also did it for women like you in small business, for my clients, and anyone who's listening to the podcast can learn from my mistakes and my journey. I'm leaning more into the warts and all stories, like I'm not perfect. I'm learning as well. There's some things that I do amazing. There's some things that can improve on, and, let's share and let's learn together. So from day one, when I was running Grow Advantage, I was definitely doing it from a place of survival. So post-marriage separation, solo parenting, navigating real life dramas. And anyone who's gone through a separation or supported someone through a big separation, especially with more children, with small children, you know, any children, teenagers, it's a lot. It takes time, you know, and I knew for me, you know, building business solo was not going to be a possibility. I knew I would need to hire teams. I understood systems and operations. Marketing was always the struggle for me, but systems operation, like I had this, you know, I was never worried about scaling and hiring a team because of my corporate background and really living in that hiring teams and operation space. But I did have to relearn how that applied to a small business context. So when I started my services, I started with Done For You hiring, and then I went into more of a coaching consulting piece, and that is amazing. It is still something I offer in my business, but it's not for everyone. So for a lot of the female business owners I work with, they are visionary business owners and they just don't love operations and they don't love managing their team. Now that's not everyone. I'm bringing the amazing Alicia on my podcast next week, and she's incredible. We had a VIP day together and she has absolutely railroaded that strategy and it really works for her. And for some people it does. And in my leadership essentials day, I would say out of the women, 2/3 of them were visionary and 1/3 of them tipped onto more of a visionary / integrator. And what I mean by that is the visionaries, they really want to be that true entrepreneurial CEO, you know, like big picture thinking, talking on stages, subject matter experts, not really into the weeds and into the detail. And then there were 2 other women that I could see were more of a hybrid, and I identified a lot with those women, you know, and they were in businesses where they were very much about supporting others. So what I'm saying is, you know, I did Done For You hiring and that was great. But I guess the downside of that was people didn't then necessarily want to manage those team members. And with the more coaching consulting side of the business, yes, there was a chunk of business owners that loved it. And they all love it. They're all really happy because they get this amazing strategy, but not all of it gets bedded in. You know, sometimes it just sits there in their Google Drive. Like, and I've literally given them all the steps, but the thing is they don't want to be the one to execute it. So that's why I had to look at that. It also feels really icky for me. Like, I am such a doer and I want to get stuff done. Like, if I'm coaching someone about their consultancy, I'm not there to take their money and give them a strategy. That feels horrible for me. Like, I really, really want them to succeed. I want what's happened to Alicia. Like, I want to check in with her, you know, a few months later and see that she's absolutely like maxed out her operations and she's got a plan and she's grown her team. And that will work. If, you know, if you're listening to that, then VIP day strategy sessions are for you. But if you're a business owner who's like, you know, I don't want to hire a team, I don't want to fix systems, that's not me, I'm not interested, then we need to look at another option for you. Because the truth is, for most visionary founders, they want better operations. They don't want to be the one delivering the operations. You know, if you're a visionary business owner, be okay with that. Maybe it's not for you to deliver operations. I'm so over women doing it all in business. It does not align with my values. I never wanted it. You know, I'm having some really deep conversations with my business coach at the moment about what it is that I want. You know, I've got a big personal life that happens, that blows up, and doing everything in my business is just not going to sustain me anymore. And, you know, we talked a lot about marketing, right? Marketing's always been tricky for me. Like, I love this podcast so much. I love researching this podcast. I love talking about it. I love talking about the realities around business and getting really personal, and then how that fits into your operations, more so the why behind it, right? But I don't love Instagram and posting captions. What I love about Instagram is I love chatting in my DMs and the connection that it gives me, and I have got built such amazing relationships on that platform. So I love that, but like fiddling around, understanding reels, trends, like yuck, like marketing strategy on the whole, not a big fan. Like, I just want to be in the marketing context. I just want to be the brain and the talent. Like, I don't want to do all of the things. No, I've got an amazing VA team who will take content and repurpose it, but that's not the whole thing. Like, I think once you get to a certain level of business, like, you need to be more strategic. And what's really interesting is so many of my clients, I think that's the part that they've got licked. Like, they've absolutely got their marketing strategy nailed. They're getting tons of hits and love on their social media because they love it, right? So therefore it goes off. Whereas my operations is great and I can advise on that and I really enjoy that stuff. I think we just need to be really real about what we love and what we want to do and what we don't. And if we're in a position to get rid of it, get rid of it. Because when you're spending more time in your zone of genius, that is what's going to serve you. It's going to light you up. It's going to make you love your CEO role, and guaranteed it's going to get you better results. You're going to make more money. You're going to be able to serve more clients. Anyway, I talk about that frequently. But going back to the piece around visionary founders not loving operations, so they can get a strategy, but they don't want to do it. There is also an issue that I see really frequently, which is that visionary business owner pinning all of their hopes on hiring like one VA or one OBM or an OBM with one VA. It's a bit of a broken model, right? Which is what I'm seeking to influence and change. And that's why I'm talking about it so frequently at the moment. You'll see it all the time now. I've said it, right? You'll go on Like-Minded Bitches Drinking Wine, that Facebook group. I freaking love that group. And there'll be all of these posts like, I'm looking for this one person to manage my diary and create all my social media and do updates to my website and edit my podcast. And this is the thing, is you're not looking for one person. They're really different skill sets. So the reason I know this is because I have multiple VAs that do VA tasks for me in my business, and they're all different. Yeah, they can, a lot of them are really multi-talented, but there's things that they like more than others. And you see that in their work, right? Who isn't like this? Like, you like this in school, right? This is a really good example. So in school, I loved English, history, sociology, and I did not like maths and science. So what did I put my time into? What did I invest my time in my homework? It was English and sociology. Then I went and did a sociology degree. You know, like I struggled with English to get past a B because of the max ADHD in me, but I digress. But I still put energy in there and I did pretty good. Math, science, I was like, I'll get a C and I'll get the hell out of there. You know, the model in school is a bit different. But what I'm saying to you is everyone's like that in their jobs too. There's things that you like better and you're better suited to, and you're going to let the other things slip a little bit. Like, you know this when you're structuring your work day, you're like so excited to, you know, if you're a visionary and you love creative, you're like, yes, I'm going to record reels today and I'm going to show up and I'm going to have fun and I'm going to talk about what I love. And then you're like, oh, but I've got to hand over that stuff to my team, and oh, my team keeps emailing me. Like, who hasn't felt like that? It's so real and genuine. And look, I really believe that you can't hire one unicorn, expect them to do everything, and when they disappear, you're going to get overloaded. And guess what? All of that work you don't like that you hired someone else to do is going to fall back on you, right? And you're going to be back in the thick of it. So when I was looking at this model for myself, I took all of that learnings and I applied it to my business. I rebuilt it. I stopped trying to scale the delivery myself. You know, a lot of my one and done services, like my VIP days, my strategy sessions, which will happen, but there'll be less of them. That is reliant on me to show up. And that's okay. I'm going to still have them, but I'm going to manage them around my energetics. They're going to be limited. Whereas where we can scale and deliver more and support more clients, if it's not all on me, which is that scalable, fractional integrator and operation service, you know, because I feel it too. Like, I need my business to be scalable. I need it to not be dependent on one person. And I've been working on that for quite some time. Like I said, I hire multiple VAs. I have like a pool of VAs. I have a couple of core ones. I have other ones I lean to because I'm sure as hell not getting dragged back into doing Canva edits when one of them gets sick. They're all cross-trained, for example. Or I don't do anything on my website. Like, I'm just not there for it. So I've always got a backup plan. And the decision to really go full throttle with this model, it came a few weeks before the school holidays. I wrote the job advert to grow the Australian team. I already had a network of the offshore team, but I was actively growing that too. And I made that decision. Maybe I made it literally like a week. Well, if everything had gone smoothly in my personal life, I made it on time. But then I had this big episode happen in my personal life where I can't really go into it, sadly, but, you know, my kid needed me. There was hospital, there was other stuff going on, and I didn't completely step out of the business, but I was juggling hard, and it was so icky and so unsustainable. And I don't want to have to choose between my business and my kid. I want both, and that's okay. You know, I'm going to choose my kid first. It's just icky, right? Like, even saying it, I'm like, it's crap. Like, to be thinking about one and thinking about the other and not having the backup support. And I did have support, but not necessarily in delivery. And I was already making plans to change this, you know, and I don't also want my team members to feel like that. You know, if they have something going on in their personal life, I want their attention there. So I'm building a plan for it, as should you. That discomfort, that ickiness, it made me double down for me and for my clients. And for every founder out there, please learn from my journey and see where it applies to you. I don't want you duct taping your back end together. I want a business that supports you and your life and the CEO job that you actually want. So if you are following me on Instagram, LinkedIn, if you're not, please do so. Links are in the show notes. You will probably have seen like a bit of a change across my socials. If you haven't checked it out, I've got a new website. But underneath the visuals, it's a deeper shift. I've worked with an amazing copywriter, Claire from Syntax and Soul. As we speak, we're just like as I'm recording this podcast, I'm recording it a little bit ahead of time, this episode. And Claire, this is a little reminder to you. Make sure your logo and stuff is on the website because you're amazing and I will definitely work with you again. Anyway, big up to Claire. But there is a shift and I'd already made this conclusion, like I knew what the services were, but I really, really wanted to talk it out with a copywriter to bring this theme to life. And we had a lot of fun with the copy. So I really wanted to explain, how I felt when I've been in that stage, like the chaos, the hecticness, and there's this whole like Halloween, which is really like timely, right? It's Halloween this week, but there's like chaos, Halloween, like spooky burn book from Mean Girls vibe, like the duct tape, like the visual scrolls on the page, because I know that's how I felt when my business was doing that. Like it feels hectic, it feels really reactionary, and it's a bit freaking scary. Like I go back to that scream emoji face. It's a lot. Like it's a lot to put on yourself, to put on your nervous system. And the women I work with, they're still doing so much of their business, not because they want to, but because they've not really had the time to step away and set themselves up from not being the glue in their business. So I'll give you the example of one of my clients working. I won't share her name because I'll share her name when we're a little bit further along the journey. But she came to me with an amazing team, a small team. She doesn't need a massive team, but she does need lots and lots of systems for how she delivers her business. And what she needed, that she told me, is she didn't want to be the people leader. She wanted someone else for them to go to and someone who could support them in the tasks they were doing. She just wanted to be the talent. So she wanted to show up as the subject matter expert. She wanted to create content. And the thing is, this woman is freaking capable. So she could do everything. Doesn't mean she should, but she could. And actually even speaking to her team. So that's a part I do of this service, is like I'm meeting with the team and saying, how can I support you? How can we get the most out of you? How can we refine your roles? And they were literally saying to me, she's amazing, but so much of it lives in her head. And I was like, that's a risk, because the service she offers is she supports a lot of women. So a lot of women, like she's got a membership, she's freaking epic. And people join that service to be with her, to follow her. But I'm like, it doesn't all need to be on you, because we want you. We don't want you doing admin, essentially. So what we sort of did for Em, what we did right away is we got her the heck out of her inbox. We're then looking at refining how she does the delivery and what the backup options for that. And that's all in like the first couple of weeks. So she's a happy bunny. She's was posting on her socials like, I have so much free time. This is wild. And that was actually in her school holidays, which was super fun. So one of my first clients from this new service, and she was posting from like her holiday saying, oh my gosh, like Gracie and the Grow Advantage team and then my team, they're like running my business. This is wild. And I want that for you, It's awesome. And I want it for me too. And I want it for them. So yeah, we talked a lot about a period, hilarious, and school holidays, and how she wanted to show up with a leader but have a personal life, because you all deserve that. And then another client, she is a property strategist. So she had a transition with the support in her business, and her content system was not working for her. So she's absolutely incredible and knows everything about her subject matter, but she just needed the content strategy to work with her flow. So we sat down and we did a big interview. So myself and Olivia, my team member, we did a load of research as if we were her ideal client. Ironically, I probably am. And I pulled up loads and loads of questions that her ideal client would ask her, and we sat and we interviewed it, and then we ad-libbed, and then we recorded, similar to how I'm recording this podcast, got all of this video content. And then that provides like an information pack for me and my whole team on what she does, which then helps us support her with her operations, her website management, her inbox, her social planning, everything, But no one had thought like that before. So we were like, well, how can we get this out of your brain? Because you want us to help you create more and more content, and we want it to sound like you. Like, we need to understand it to some extent, and then have like a freaking manual for her content. So we have that. And I sat with her. It was all her. I asked the questions as if I was her ideal client, as someone who didn't understand property strategy and what she did. And there was so much gold in there. And then I turned it into a pack. I did that because it was super fun. And then I've given that to my team, and they're going to deliver on that. They've got 3 months worth of content, which can probably all be repurposed again and again. And this will flow into her marketing. It will flow into her inbox management. We'll be able to automate any gaps, and it's all coming and working together. We didn't touch the creative. We didn't become her. And I certainly am not creative. Like, I'm not creating reels. I'm not doing carousels or any of that stuff, proposals, but we've got the information to build the systems. And then I hire people who are really good at that. And then I lead the strategy behind it. She already has a marketing strategy. She just needed to get all of that freaking content out of her brain. And then we needed to operationalize that. So I do hire amazing content people, reels people, marketing people. It's just not me, but I make the system. It's that true integrator piece. So if you ever read Gino Wickman, Rocket Fuel, you've got the CEO, and then you've got the integrator. And then in a traditional bigger business, you'd have like marketing streams, you'd have sales, you'd have finance, you'd have tech. I'm the person who's sitting above that. I understand all of it, and then I can pass it on and then make sure it happens. And the CEO just kind of deals with me. And then they dip into the bits that they're really excited about at that high strategic level. It's so fun. The thing is, you can't scale you, right? And you shouldn't even try. But what I've built just isn't a service, it's a function, right? It's that integrator function, but with the ops firepower behind it to make it work for you. We're giving you the system, and we're giving a team that can hold you so you can take a break. You just get to be you. You just get to show up as you in a job that you actually freaking love. So we're moving you from a haunted house to a fancy VIP penthouse suite. That's kind of what it says on my website. I think it's pretty cute. And the client results so far, they're blowing me away. My first client I spoke to, who's taking the holiday, she's doing less and she's thinking more. So she's finally back in her zone of genius. The property strategist, the other client, I cannot wait to bring them on the podcast and share their stories with you. It's all well and good me saying it, but I want you to hear it from them. She's got a full content system, and the next step is that we're attacking how her content and how the analytics flow into her CRM. And she's not going to need to touch that. She's just going to see the high level data so that we can make decisions together on how we push her forward. My team steps in behind me to manage the client's back end. We're tracking data, we're cleaning up the comms, and we're actually getting continuous projects moving forwards. And then we're supporting the client and their existing team with the day-to-day business as usual. We've just had school holidays where clients didn't check in, except for one little catch up because they wanted to, not because they had to, because we would have found a way without that. We're working with what they want to. They expected support, but I don't think people really understand how much clarity and brain space you get when you get that level of support. It's women falling in love with their businesses again. And that's what happens when big chunks of their business are handled and owned. Now, I have got spots left. It's so funny I'm saying we've got spots left. I'm recording this earlier in October. This podcast is dropping late in October. I actually feel like I'm losing my voice. So I said to my podcast editor, I'm like hitting go on recording a load of podcasts, because when I lose my voice, it goes for like 2 weeks. It's such unfortunate timing. But when I'm recording this in early October, we've got spots left in our fractional integrator and ops partnership. It's really not the higher VA solution, although because you're dealing with like the tiers of the people in the business, it's the cost difference is not that much to a VA. You have to get on a call to find out about that, because I only want to work with the people I want to work with. And we've got to gel, we're going to work really closely together, you, me, and my team. But this is a true chief operations officer and ops team coming to support you. It's built for a visionary business owner who's ready to scale without burning out. And if that's you, I'd love to hear from you. I'll say this over and over again, this podcast is not designed to be a big hot pitch. I talk about what I'm doing so you can leverage the bits that suit you, and you can just plug and play what I'm saying in the podcast if you are more of that integrated brain. But if you don't want it and you want to explore options, that's where we chat on Instagram in the DMs, or you book in a free call. You know, there's always a way to help you. And maybe it's not me, but I'll give you a plan. You know, I'll listen to you. I'm here for that, especially if you listen to the podcast and follow along on my socials, because that's a big part of why I'm in business as well. It's for that community and to hear other founders' stories. It lights me up. I love a chat. So much so that my voice is on the way out. So I'm going to have to wrap up. But if this episode hit you in the gut, if it felt a bit scary, you know, we're going with the whole Halloween scare theme. If this episode hit you in the gut, if you're still the glue and you're still the bottleneck and you're still the, oh, it'll just take me 5 minutes person in your business, you don't have to do it like this anymore. There are options, and maybe it's us, you know, come and have a chat. I'm Chrissy. This is the Vision to Grow podcast, and I am also the founder of Grow Advantage. Come and say hi to me on Instagram. Send this episode to a founder that you think this would help. And this is just your reminder that we're not building businesses that break us anymore. We're building ones that hold us. Until next time.
Audience exclusive.